Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you, of course, and my buddy Brad. Old man Brad. What's up, brother? How are you? Welcome back.
I'm good. I'm coming at you from the basement.
Yeah, you are.
I get kept in the basement when I do these.
The garage and the basement. Which one's creepier?
Probably the basement.
I was gonna say, which one's in more horror movies? Probably the basement, I would think. Yeah.
Probably the basement. Yeah.
The black phone and the whole thing. Yeah. I wanted to get together. It's kind of funny because I rebranded a few months ago, and I'm the awards garage now, and I cover. I don't know if you heard.
I thought it was coming on the 2Ps.
No one else.
What's going on here?
No one else does either, so you're fine. Everybody's like, "Where's 2Ps at?" Yeah, I'm the awards garage now, so I cover awards season, and once that's over, like February or March, it's like, okay, what do I do? And I still love movies, so I talk about movies, but Dead Meat. And, the guys that do the kill count, which is James A. Janisse and his wife, Chelsea Rebecca, every year, well, I think this is the third year I think they've been doing it, maybe fourth. They do a horror awards on YouTube. And you know very well, because you've been a part of it the last couple years, I do my own award show, which covers all genres, called the Golden Peas. But I was really interested when I saw that they were doing that initially, and I've been a big fan of the kill count for a long time. And we're going to talk about the 2025 Dead Meat Horror Awards tonight. And I thought that it would be cool also, Brad, just to get you in here so we can talk about horror movies. Because another thing is when I'm covering, Oscar season and award season, like horror is not usually a part of that conversation, unfortunately. And it's my favorite genre of film. I mean, I know The Substance was really successful this past season and Nosferatu, but generally speaking, there's not a lot of horror floating around during award season. So I wanted to talk about this one with you and chat horror movies. So I'm excited.
We got this one, and then we'll do the Chainsaw Awards later in the year.
We will. You said that's October, right?
Yeah.
When is it?
Yep.
Okay. I can't remember. Did you tell me? But is it 2024 movies or it's just like up until a certain cutoff?
I don't know when the nominees come out. I think the nominees might come out this summer sometime. So I think it's up until that cutoff.
Yeah. And then I know the Saturn Awards, I think they do some horror too, I think. Horror and sci-fi, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's already happened, but I mean, maybe for next year we could cover that. But anyway, I'm excited, and they had some really good nominees. So real quick, we're going to basically just try to keep this as brief as we can, but I want to talk about each category. They had 12 categories. Some movies kind of racked up, so we'll probably talk about that movie whenever it comes up, and then that'll, we'll just kind of mention it going forward. Because
nobody will they'll never guess what movie probably won the most.
I knew going in what it was going to be. You weren't surprised, were you?
I wasn't surprised, no.
No, I wasn't either. In fact, we were talking about my Golden Peas, and the movie that won Best Horror is also the one that you're talking about that kind of racked up on this award show. So we'll talk a little bit about that one, and then all the other nominees also, because
there were a couple that I was surprised with, a few, but...
Yeah, me too. I joke with you all the time about the Tubi affinity that you have, but they do a good job of like spreading it around to like various films that are like box office blockbusters, like A Quiet Place, and then they'll have like these little indie films that show up on Tubi or Shudder, like Mads, was one of my favorites from last year, and that got a nomination. So they do a great job of kind of covering the whole gambit, regardless of the budget or the reception or whatever. So I will give them a huge shout out on that. It's a nice eclectic mix of horror films, wouldn't you say?
It is, and I really like what they do with it. Like, they don't just give you the nominees and go, okay, here's your winner. Explain like behind why and what they did and everything they went through creating this, like with stunts and the special effects and everything else. I like that it gave you a lot of information as you went along of like, this is what they had to do to create this, or this is what they had to go through to do this, which was kind of cool.
It's almost like, kind of like you said, like, yeah, we have the nominee list, and most of these shows are running 3 or 4 hours and they don't do anything like that. So it's like, let's cut it down a little bit and we can still get all that information out there. But it's like you have the nominees, but what's cool about the Dead Meat Awards the last few years, and this year especially, is like, Chelsea narrates, and she's a voice actor, so she does great narration. But to your point, like, it's almost like a little mini Wikipedia page for like why they're nominated, not just that they are nominated. Like, this is why they're nominated, because they went to these links to do this or that or whatever. And it really kind of, you stop and go, oh, okay, well, no shit, they're nominated. That's amazing. As opposed to just being like, yeah, it was a good movie or whatever. So
yeah, it gave you a backstory of a little bit of the film and kind of what their process for it was, which... If anybody watching this hasn't, ever experienced or watched something like this, they do. I highly recommend it because it was very informative as well as entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I thought it was a great show. I love that it's on YouTube too. I mean, it's accessible to everybody. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as you have access to YouTube, I mean, that's cool. I mean, my son last year, which I probably should not have let him because, it is R-rated and the montages and when they show the kill scenes and that kind of stuff, they have a best kill category. But, he was really excited because, he can just throw it on YouTube, watch different categories that he cares about. He really likes the practical effect stuff with the suits and all that. So it's cool that it's accessible to everybody. You don't have to have a cable package or whatever. Yeah. So I'm going to share
some surprises for me. And I mean, we'll talk about them when we get to the categories of people that showed up and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I was going to ask you. So I'm going to share the screen here. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about was the presenters. So they're getting every year, like I said, I think this is the third one they've done. Every year they continue to kind of one up themselves in terms of who's presenting. So right out of the gate, they had Janelle Monáe as the first presenter. And now they had announced these in advance, but I don't remember seeing some of these names like her and Patrick Wilson and a couple others. So when I saw them, I was actually cutting the grass and I was like, about to cut the grass. And I was like, oh man, Janelle Monáe right out of the fucking gate. This is awesome. What do you think of this group of presenters here? I know you have you actually have interviewed at least one of them, right?
Yeah, Carl Holt, who he presented the practical effects for Benny Loves You. He was
that's right.
And I loved his little segment that he had fun with it. There were a couple of them. I was just like, you're just recording this in your car real quick to
I know. Yeah. They had, so the biggest name, I mean, I guess probably Keith David, he did production design. They spelled it wrong on their graphic there, I'm just noticing. But anyway, best production design, which was a new category this year. We'll get to the winners in a second, but he presented that one. They had Patrick Wilson, of course, from the Conjuring series, which was really cool. He did best lead performance. Alyssa Sutherland, I know you and I both love her mother from Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise. Yeah. She's awesome in that.
Yeah, great shit.
She won last year for
that's right.
Villain, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, really good stuff. Rich Sommer, a great actor. He's kind of like a character actor that you recognize from a lot of stuff. He was in there. The director from When Evil Lurks, which was my favorite horror movie from last year.
Oh, yeah, that one will mess you up.
Yeah, oh, fuck me up, dude. Yeah, good stuff. And then they had all the young female actresses that have played Megan and Megan 2.0, which was awesome. So they were basically all there. So it was really cool. It was a really cool group of presenters this year, and they always do that. So let's go back up top here, Brad, and we'll just kind of start with the very first category that was given out, which best stunts or choreography. They just announced that for the Oscars, by the way. I think it's 2028, I think, for the 2027 films. That we'll see that pop up at the Oscars for the first time, finally. What a sick irony, by the way, that got announced the year that the last Mission Impossible is coming. Cruise is like, what cliff do I have to hang off of to get nominated for this?
He's like, I'm going to come back for one more, just one more.
I mean, really, he should, 2027, the revival. So here were the nominees for that category. It was Smile 2, Abigail, Alien Romulus, Mads, The Substance, and VHS Beyond. Smile 2 ended up winning Best Stunts or Choreography. What do you think of this group? Have you seen all of those? Have you seen Mads yet?
I have not seen Mads. It's on my list. And I haven't seen VHS Beyond.
Oh, okay.
I've only seen 2 of the VHS movies.
All right,
I just thought they were okay, so I never went through the rest of them.
Yeah, VHS Beyond is good, but it falls victim of there's 2 really good sequences and the rest are just kind of so you have to sit through 60% of the movie to really get what the good stuff is. But
I've heard a lot of good things about Mads. I want to watch it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, Mads is really cool because I love, and we'll talk about it in Violent Nature here in a minute too, because that comes up on this award show. What I love about Mads, or really in the horror genre, is when you can do something with a classic traditional trope that's kind of been done a million times, but you can do something new with that. And A Violent Nature obviously did that with the POV camera angle being kind of flipped on its head there. And what Mads does is it's a 90-minute one take. I don't know. Have you heard that? Do you know that?
I did after watching this.
That's
because
that's true.
They really had to make sure everything was set up with the choreography and everything else, that everything was set because we're running this 90 minutes. We're not stopping.
Phenomenal.
A lot of movies have done that, but they do it where there's cut points. So they'll zoom into something so it goes black so they can cut it. So obviously this one didn't. They talked about how this had to be 90 minutes. If we messed up, we're starting back in minute 1, which I'm
kind of
crap.
Because of that, I was kind of rooting for this one a little bit, kind of like a little underdog win, because you got to imagine, man, it's not like they had a giant budget for a bunch of let's start over.
Yeah.
we're at minute 85 and we fucked up, but let's start over. You know, it's not
That
like they could do that.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And hearing that story, I was the same way. I was like, I think this one should win because everything that they went through, everything they had to get set up for this entire thing to work. Otherwise, you got nothing.
With that being said, Smile 2 was the winner here. I can see it pretty easly for the choreography piece for sure, because you know they have all the
especially when they're coming down the hallway.
Oh yeah, so good, man.
At her
that like interpretive dance where they're all just being creepy as shit. And then also, it's not really horror necessarily, but the choreography for Sky Riley and her like performing, you know, on stage and as a pop star, like. You know, they modeled it after, you know, a lot of the Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, like a lot of the current like, really popular pop stars. But she also wanted it to be like fresh, where it was like it wasn't a replica of those guys. It had to be original, you know, to stand out, which I feel like it was. So
and
I see
even
it winning
Abigail, here. I mean, she dances in the whole scene. She get Catherine Newton in there, like her puppet.
So
I mean, great nominees. Like it was tough because Abigail has some good scenes in it of choreography.
Sure.
Smile 2, I mean, it won, so I can't say, this one shouldn't have won, because there was a lot of good ones that deserved to win it.
Absolutely.
I'm curious how close the vote was.
I know. That always gets me every time. Same thing with the Oscars. I'm like, I wonder who was number 2.
I want to know how close it was.
It was a good category, and I'm, you know, props to them for doing this from the get-go. I don't know why the Oscars have taken 98 years to do it, but getting the stunt people some love, particularly in horror movies. You know, what'll be cool is if, when this rolls out at the Academy Awards, if horror movies start to show up a little bit more and more, because usually it is like stunts and like the practical effects versus like the visual effects, although sometimes they have great visual effects too. So maybe those like newer categories will start to see a little more horror kind of creep in the door there. So, but I love Smile 2. It was one of my favorite horror movies last year, so I'm all about it. Yep.
It was good.
Naomi Scott, speaking of Oscars, she could have easily got nominated for that performance, man. So
I agree.
Best digital effects would be next. They do a practical effects category in digital. So digital
that they split them up.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like you almost have to, really. I mean, especially when you're talking about horror. I mean, you don't have to, but it makes a lot of sense to do it.
Yeah.
So for digital effects, we're looking at Alien Romulus, Arcadian, which is one that I have not seen, by the way. The First Omen, Infested, which I will not watch because it's got fucking spiders in it, so just leave me alone. A Quiet Place Day One, and VHS Beyond. Again, a lot of nominations for VHS Beyond. They were obviously big fans of that one. I think he did a kill count on that, but I could be thinking of another VHS, but I know they like that movie. So I did not, of this group here, I didn't see Infested, I didn't see Arcadian. I did see the little, you know, montages that they did where they were discussing the digital effects in these movies. You know, for me, it's kind of ironic because I was a huge fan of the practical stuff in Alien Romulus. The dude that was in the xenomorph, like, puppet costume, or, you know, suit. So it's kind of weird that one won digital effects. Obviously,
with the talk behind it, with the face, and from what...
It was weird.
What they've said, they went back and fixed it for the physical release, which I don't have the physical to see if it's
me neither.
If it's better, but it kind of surprised me that one with everything that was behind it won the digital effects. Although the scene that they really talk about is the floating blood,
which I get,
anti-gravity scene, which was pretty
badass.
Cool.
Yeah, really, really cool, badass. But you know, it was just one of those things that stood out to me because when I saw Romulus, I was like, oh my god, like the practical effects were amazing. And you know, Alvarez went back, you know, he didn't cut corners. That's how he is as a filmmaker. So I love that. I knew he did the same thing with The Evil Dead, you know, so I knew he was going to kind of at least want to do that route as long as the studio or producers let him. And another thing too is like, you know, the production design, the sets, like how authentically like practical it was. So I would just remember being like, oh shit, Alien Romulus won digital effects. Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, cool. You know, it was just strange to me. Like I didn't think of it as like its strength really, but that wins digital effects. And then when we go to practical effects, it was also nominated there. So this one I would have preferred have gone to Romulus if it was going to win. But anyway, the nominees were Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice, In a Violent Nature, Stop Motion, which I loved, Terrifier 3, and The Substance, which was your winner. Spoiler alert, when Brad was talking earlier, The Substance is the movie that won the most awards. I think it won 5, right, Brad?
You're right.
I don't have the tally, but I'm pretty sure.
All Substance, I mean, it's deserved. The effects on the practical effects on this movie are fantastic. And it's kind of tough because Terrifier, it's known for its practical kills that
Sure.
Damien Leone just goes over the top with
Oh my God.
with them. And Terrifier 3 just, you thought there was a lot in 2, he just keeps taking it up a notch in each one.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what he can do with a smaller budget. I mean, 3 was the biggest budget of them, but still, I mean, minute compared to most movies, and
without a doubt,
he knocks those effects out of the park.
Yeah, without a doubt. Stop motions are. Did you see that one, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, it had some great stuff. I always love a stop motion effect. So yeah. I mean, it's all of these. I mean, even Beetlejuice. I didn't like Beetlejuice, but he did it all practical. Everything he did, he wanted it to be everything practical work. And
yeah, he wanted it to call back to the 87, which I mean, it did. I mean, it looked like it was almost the same sets and stuff. Stop motion was a cool like underdog nominee too, kind of like I was saying with Mads earlier, because I can't remember, it's Richard something, I can't remember his last name for some reason, but the director is an actual stop motion artist who was struggling with kind of like disconnecting himself from the stop motion world that he was creating or whatever, and as an outlet, he did this movie, and the movie's really, really cool because it incorporates stop motion into a real life setting, very similar to what like when you have animation mixed with real life sometimes, and like Roger Rabbit and those kinds of movies, but it did it with stop motion, and it does make for like a pretty haunting like atmosphere, especially the Tool video that he was basically making in this movie. It was super creepy, you know what I mean? So I love that nomination also, and I love that it got a shout out.
Dirty, grimy puppet that he created in it was just
without
creepy. Yeah.
So the substance wins best practical effects. Like you said, the whole Sue New Year's Eve sequence at the end alone is probably enough. I mean, it was the makeup and hairstyling winner at the Oscars this year. I mean, it's top tier for sure.
And just the way that they did, like the body splitting and her coming out, and just seeing their little montage of explaining what they did in the film, of like even the scene where she's shooting up. The director, she actually shot herself with a needle so she could make it as real as possible.
Coralie, man.
Insane.
Long live Coralie. That was awesome. I do urge people, I don't know if they're going to clip these up like by categories or not, but I do urge people to watch those little, how-tos where they kind of tell you what the directors did and stuff, because it's really cool.
There's some good information.
Speaking of which, I assume a category that is near and dear to you that I love too is Best Kill, and I'm over
and what I wanted to win won.
Oh, you're goddamn right, dude. So we'll talk about it. Actually, there's a couple in that movie that could have won, but that one was the one for sure. The nominees were Luther from Azrael, which is the only one on this list I haven't seen. Is that the one with Samara Weaving, I think?
Yes.
I had that in my watch list forever.
They've taken their vocal cords out, so they can't talk.
John's Death in Maxine, which is Kevin Bacon in the car crusher in the junkyard. Lewis in Smile 2, that's the dude that she goes to meet him at his apartment with the weight in his face. Cole in Terrifier 3.
Yeah,
which one's Cole?
That's
the right.
shower scene,
Yeah. And then...
you're like, yeah.
Oh, I know, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, never mind. And then Arnob in VHS Beyond, which I can't remember which one that is either, but Aurora won for In a Violent Nature, which is, what is that referred to as, the pretzel or the yoga kill?
They call it the yoga kill.
Yeah.
But I mean, they basically pull her into a pretzel.
I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show when I do clips here, probably just like a few seconds, but why don't you explain the kill to everyone? I put a parental advisory at the beginning of this video, or I'm going to when I edit. But why don't you explain to people?
This is amazing. Basically, our killer Johnny, who is basically Jason Voorhees.
Right. With a nautical, background, but basically, Jason Voorhees off of a boat or whatever. Yeah.
And he has this chain with 2 hooks, and he punches through her. That's how he gets it. He punches through her. It pulls the chain and hooks it to her head, then pulls the chain, her head, and everything through the hole in her body. And
pulls her back through the. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, what are we gonna do? What are horror filmmakers gonna do? I mean, how are you going to ever? What's gonna happen where we're gonna be like, oh my god, that was better than the In a Violent Nature kill? I mean, I just don't see how.
Yeah, I don't know, because it was creative.
Oh my god, it was
extremely
so creative.
He could have just killed her, but no, he's gonna tie her in a knot, basically.
So creative, so gory. So it's one of those kills, if you're a horror fan, that you like literally want to watch it on a loop. I mean, and if you're not a horror fan, where you're just like, oh my god, cringing the whole time, So it really balanced that perfectly, I thought.
Did you see who worked on the practical effects on the movie?
I did, but I can't remind me. Oh.
Stansky, who directed Psycho Gorman and The Void,
Yeah,
The Leprechaun
right, yeah.
Returns.
Yeah. So he knows what he's doing. But I was a big defender of this movie. I still am. I mean, I defend it and think it's a positive, or I give it a positive review and ranking because of how inventive, as in general, that this movie is.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's different. It's just different.
I defended this movie too. I mean, say what you will about the last scene that goes on.
The last
for
scene that
too
never
long.
still happened. It's still playing on my TV. They're having to go to see what happened.
But the build up to this,
yeah,
we haven't got a Friday the 13th movie in how many years, and this gives you that, it scratches that itch. I mean, this is basically Jason going through the woods, killing people,
and it kept true to its roots of the camp slasher, or that feeling of those old school slashers, but it showed you it from a different perspective. You still saw the dumb teenagers swimming in the lake or whatever. You still saw all that shit, but you saw what he saw. You know, usually we're in their shoes, and usually we're in the victim's shoes, and we see him when he's in the frame and he comes to kill us. But in this case, you know, we were kind of stalking along with him, but it was still the same movie. So it's weird that you can do that. It's like a mirror of itself in a way. So it was very inventive. I think we'll start to see a lot more of that kind of take on horror too. Soderbergh did it with Presence from a ghost perspective this year. It wasn't really horror. I mean, it was horror adjacent, but it was more of a kind of a dramatic thriller, I guess.
Okay.
But you'll start to see, I think that's going to be a little more prominent, you know, going forward. So that was your best kill, which was definitely deserved. And then we get into some acting categories. So for best supporting performer, and they group male and female together at the Dead Meat Awards, it was David Johnson for Alien Romulus, Jack Haven for I Saw the TV Glow, James McAvoy for Speak No Evil, the remake, Margaret Qualley for The Substance, Alicia Weir in Abigail, and Alicia Witt in Long Legs, which was the mother. So what David Johnson ends up winning here for Alien Romulus, I loved him in that movie.
I did too. I absolutely loved him in that movie.
So good, dude. He also won the BAFTA Rising Star Award this year. And what was great about Andy in that movie is that he was playing essentially two different people, because the first like half of the movie, he's kind of a novice that doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's following his sister around and just kind of taking orders, and you know, he's basically her servant or whatever, and just only cares about her. Then when he has the meeting and he gets the chip inserted, he turns into basically a genius, the opposite of what he was. He knows everything. He's an AI that can, you know, decipher any mathematical equation in front of him in a matter of seconds. And he plays that like almost risk analysis that he turns into after that. And it's like, oh, you can't even remember the other version of Andy that existed before that. It's just so good, man. It's such a layered thing when actors can do that, when they can be different versions of the same person in the same movie, sometimes in the same scene. It's just crazy to me. So I love all these performances, but I was so glad that he won. What about you?
I'm with you on that. I thought he was fantastic in the movie. I haven't seen the Speak No Evil remake. Okay. I kind of, when it was coming out, I went on this, I'm not going to watch this because the original one was so good.
It was so good, yeah.
But I've heard this one is pretty good. So
it is.
So I will go check it out. And
I thought that too. I think what they did, I mean, the original's better, I'll just tell you. But this is not a sacrilegious like remake or whatever. It was. I was like you. I was like, why the fuck are we doing that? You know.
And then the original, you get to that ending, it messes you up, and I'm like.
So what they did correctly, I think, with the remake here is that they knew, or they played it like whoever's watching this movie knows the original. So they just lean into that. Like they don't try to hide any of that shit. So it brings its own kind of surprises under the surface because you already expect what you're expecting, and they're just like, here's what you're expecting, and then you get all this other shit that you're kind of like, oh, okay, interesting twist on that. And then McAvoy is absolutely brilliant in it, and for my money, he's even more sinister than the character in the original film, because I feel like that was a little bit more of a quiet kind of oddity that character had. But this one is more like he's straight up like, you know, something's wrong with this guy immediately. You know, and he's just a great actor. So, you know, I would have been okay with Margaret Qualley too, because I hated her getting snubbed this award season at a lot of different places, including the Oscars. But I thought she was great in The Substance, and for my money, she's really a co-lead with Demi Moore in that movie, and I just wish she had gotten a little more love for her role in that film. But other than that, I mean, it's David Johnson for me too.
I would have been good with Alicia Weir too, because same thing. She plays two different versions of Abigail in the movie. The sweet, innocent girl, and then she's badass. Don't mess with her.
That's great. I agree with you, man. And that's a kid doing that. It's not like a seasoned actor.
Exactly.
You know, has been doing it for decades. You know. And then when we get to best lead performer, they did a tie in this category. So the nominees were Demi Moore for The Substance, David Dalsamachian for Late Night with the Devil, Willa Fitzgerald for Strange Darling, Hugh Grant for Heretic, Micah Monroe for Long Legs, and Naomi Scott for Smile 2. They did a tie for Demi Moore and David. And I know you love Late Night with the Devil, just like I was a little surprised, though, honestly, but I
was like, poor Demi just can't win one on her own. What the heck?
just gotta have they are one, you know. These are all really good, though, man. We already talked about Naomi Scott. Micah Monroe played that really quiet, awkward, almost like on the spectrum detective that she was in that movie. And
Hugh Grant was so good in Heretic.
Out of this world, dude.
Because it's same thing. He goes as this like seems like an innocent guy, really sinister. He has ulterior motives going on.
Yeah,
and you're like, what?
Yeah, he played to his Hugh Grantness. You know, the charm and the like boyhood like cuteness from the rom-coms and shit. Like, where you just want, like, that's your uncle and you want to like hang out with him at Sunday brunch and shit, and then all of a sudden it's much deeper and you're like, oh, never mind, get me the fuck out of here, you know. And he did that so well where he kind of like transformed, you know, halfway through the movie.
And even I don't remember the girls in it. She's the one who's in Companion.
Yeah, Sophie Thatcher is who you're talking about, and Chloe.
Yeah, she was really good in the movie too. Yeah,
they were both really good too.
I have not seen Strange Darling, so I don't know.
That's a good one. That one, and she's great in it, Willa Fitzgerald. But that one got overhyped for me a little bit. Like, it was one of those movies. I don't know if you remember when it first came out. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, the greatest shit I've ever seen!" Plot twist, this, that. And I didn't see it for like a month. And when I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, it was good." But I feel like it was one of those movies where if I'd been with that group a month before and seen it, I would have been saying that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like the hype kind of like set me up for like, you know, it was good, but it wasn't like, you know, holy shit, I need to sit down, you know. So, but it was good, and I do see why her performance got nominated. She's great in it. So Demi Moore gets her flowers here for best lead performer. She couldn't get them a couple months ago, but that's all right. Mikey Madison rolled through. I do think I would have probably personally, and then we can move on, but I probably personally would have given, if it's going to be a tie, I would have probably done Hugh Grant over Dalsamachian. Do you think I think maybe Dalsamachian got that for the horror community just freaking loves him.
I think that's a big part of it. I mean, because the people who vote on it are people who work in content creators, podcasters, you know, people who are just fans like you and I are. So in the horror community, Late Night with the Devil, I think I don't know anybody who hated it. The community loved it, absolutely loved it.
It's real good, and you know, Dalsamachian has a great reputation in the horror community, and he's just in movies in general. He's been doing it for a long time.
Coffin show that he does. Did he?
Yeah.
People in the coffin.
Yeah, for sure. So they do best original film and they do best remake or sequel. I love that they split those up too. Best remake or sequel. The nominees were Smile 2, Alien Romulus, The First Omen, Nosferatu, Speak No Evil, and Terrifier 3. Smile 2 wins. Again, I'm okay with that. I don't know, man. You know, Nosferatu was my number one last year. I don't really think of that movie as a remake, though. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It's vastly different. I mean, I know it's the same, basically, through line, but it's a different POV, and it just feels like a different movie to me. But that, if I'm just basing it on the movies and I'm just looking at the list, it would be Nosferatu for me. But I also think, like, if I'm thinking remake or sequel, it's got to be Smile 2, or, I mean, really, First Omen's great, too. So is Alien Romulus. I don't know, man. This is a tough group.
Yeah, First Omen was top. I think it was my second on my list for last year.
There you go.
For top movie. So I probably would have went First Omen over Smile 2, but Smile 2 I loved as well. Yeah, so, I mean, it's tough. I mean, Terrifier 3 was really good. I liked it better than 2. And
really? Because I love 2. I don't know, 2 might be my favorite.
2 is a little long, but I love the Christmas feel, the Christmas setting of 3.
Hell yeah, dude. I love a good Christmas horror movie. It's one of my favorite, like, subgenres for sure. But I don't know, I guess 3 got a little, like, explainy with the lore and stuff, and, like, why this is this, and, you know, I don't know, I kind of like the mystique around it all, you know? But I liked it. I loved it for the Christmas aspect, too, like you're saying. And then for Best Original Film, it was The Substance winning. The other nominees were Heretic, I Saw the TV Glow, In a Violent Nature, Long Legs, and Strange Darling. I think you almost have to give this to The Substance, although if you're talking about originality, now hear me out, it's got to be In a Violent Nature. I mean, that's so original. It's such an original version of what we're used to. I'm not even talking about like which one I like the most. I'm just talking about like the concept of originality to me.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it takes your Friday the 13th camp slasher, but it does flip it on its head and gives you a whole different perspective of that. Whereas, like Long Legs, I mean, it's for the most part, that was Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, sure.
With a little different twist at the end.
Yep.
But
with Nicolas Cage.
Substance, your body horror, your Cronenberg, your those, but it had a good social commentary behind it and everything else. That it was. Looking at this list, I'm like, the only one I haven't seen is Strange Darling, and I enjoyed all the other ones, but I think for me as well, Substance is probably at the top. Heretic probably would have been a close second.
Yeah, I think originality wise, it's in a violent nature. I saw the TV Glow 2 is pretty original, and that has a pretty huge, like, kind of subtle social commentary also.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and it's beautifully shot. I don't know why until a couple months ago when like award season started kind of kicking off. I never thought of I Saw the TV Glow as a horror movie. Like, it didn't strike me as such when I saw it the first time. And then when I kind of dove deeper into the themes and like why people were calling it a horror, or at least one of the genres is horror, then I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. But I don't know, it just didn't hit me like this is a horror. Like, I didn't sit down to watch it thinking I was sitting down to watch a horror movie. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm going to watch a good horror movie. But
By
yeah,
the time
I
I
think The
saw
Substance
it,
is the winner.
By the time I saw it, that's what I heard was like, oh, it's one of my favorite horror movies of the year, or this or that. So
Right.
I went in with the horror mindset, and it was good, but I don't think it quite like with you with Strange Darling. I think it was kind of set up a little higher for me by the time I watched it, and I was like, well, it was good.
Right. It's a very like deep movie too. I mean, you can't pigeonhole it to one genre for sure. Jane Schoenbrunn did something really special with it.
You have to pay attention and like focus in. It can't be one of those movies that you're like, I'm just gonna put it on and maybe I'll do a little something else or this or that. Like, because then you'll be looking up going, what's going on?
Right.
Where are we at now?
All in all, this is a great list of films, and I think The Substance would probably be my vote too. I mean, it almost has to be, based on last year. What about this one, man? I don't know. Tell me what you think. And we're both Nick Cage fans, just so everybody knows. First of all, I'm just gonna say that.
Yes.
I'm not speaking for you, Brad, but I know you like him. So, best villain. Let me say the nominees real quick. Were Abigail, Art from Terrifier 3, Count Orlok from Nosferatu, Johnny from In a Violent Nature, Solange from The Front Room, which, by the way, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen that one either.
And Nick Cage or Longlegs from Longlegs. And that was your winner also. That one surprised me a little bit. This is another one where I'm like, did he win because he's Nick Cage? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
It honestly didn't surprise me that he won.
Okay.
Because I think Art won last year for 2. So I think they were like, well, we don't want to give it to Art back to back. Because, I mean, Art is a good villain.
I guess of this group, it makes sense.
Abigail was a really good villain too.
Abigail was great, and like you said, she was like that cute little girl, and then she was like this like bloodthirsty villain, and it was all in the same movie. I mean, she did a really good job. What Skarsgård did with Count Orlok still blows me away. I still can't fucking believe it. I mean, I know he didn't do it by himself. I mean, obviously the makeup artist and everybody else, but crazy shit.
Long Legs, like the makeup.
Yeah, that's true. But I did still see Nick Cage, though. You know what I mean? That's my point. Like, I don't know how to phrase this because I thought it was good performance. Don't get me wrong, but I saw Nick Cage doing that performance. Does that make sense?
Yes,
it was a good one, but that's what I saw. Whereas with Nosferatu, I didn't. As I'm sitting here right now, I can't tell you that was Skarsgård. Like, I'm just going on what people are telling me. Like, I have no way to fucking confirm it. Like, there's no way to confirm it. You know what I mean? Like, it could be anybody. I don't know. So I was just really fascinated by the transformation
in that makeup.
Yeah. But Nick Cage is an all-time fucking legend. So and he was so dedicated to that character of Longlegs too. And he borrowed from so many different things that he wanted to do with that role and brought it to life for sure. So I'm all about it.
He was like, remember when I did Mandy? I'm gonna go even further.
Yeah. Man, I'm so thrilled that Coralie Farja got some love. I mean, she won the Critics' Choice Awards this past year too. But Best Director went to her for The Substance. The other nominees were Osgood Perkins for Longlegs, Jane Schoenbrunn for I Saw the TV Glow, Parker Finn for Smile 2, Greg Jardin for It's What's Inside, which was a little hidden gem from last year. Did you see that one?
I didn't even know.
Good. You should check that one out. Yeah, that's another one that's definitely more on the like thriller side. I mean, it's not. Okay. I don't know. I mean, you could say it's horror. I mean, it's definitely horror adjacent, but It's more of a thriller to me, like kind of a whodunit kind of vibe. It's got a lot of really eclectic themes, but the director, Greg Jardin, really kept it like palatable for everybody. Like it wasn't too much. It didn't feel like overwhelming, even though when you read on paper, you're probably like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's good. I would say check it out just to see what you think, because I think you'd dig it. And then Robert Eggers for Nosferatu was the other nominee. Coralie wins here, man. That's the right call, right? It's got to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She killed it in this one. I mean, everybody was deserving of it. I mean, Osgood with long legs was great. Jane with I saw the look of that film was
for sure
fantastic.
Best production design, which was a new category for this year. The nominees were Nosferatu, Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice, Heretic, Lisa Frankenstein, the first mention of that one tonight, and The Substance. I know you did a review with your wife of Lisa Frankenstein, since we haven't talked about that one yet. I will say they nailed it, because that was one of my favorite things about the movie too, was the production design. How do you feel?
Yeah.
You did, from what I remember, you guys both dug that, right?
Yeah, we did. And this list, I know Nosferatu, I mean, anytime you do a period piece and the way it was lit and everything else, you're probably gonna be ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, that's it.
I lean a little bit to Lisa Frankenstein just because I thought they nailed that 80s decade feel, everything.
Yeah, they did. They really incorporated that gothic feel.
It almost felt like a old Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say that too. It had elements of like Tim Burton and like John Hughes. You know what I mean? Like kind of like 80s bubblegum pop art, but still kind of gothic and creepy at the same, which was kind of what the Lisa character was anyway. Yeah, I agree. I think the production design was really, really strong in Lisa Frankenstein, and it's a movie that a lot of people have forgotten about just because it was like February when it
didn't do the best. It just kind of came and went.
I dug it. I really liked it.
It
was one of my enjoyed it. Favorite like little gems from last year. So I was glad it got a nomination here. But I think Nosferatu is clear runaway winner. At least if you're talking about production design, it's just so fucking good. So I've already talked a little bit about Alien Romulus too. I love the recreation of the ship and the sets, and Fede Alvarez even had the goddamn old school computer monitors that they had in the original Alien. Like he wanted the same shit, he wanted it all to look the same. So, but yeah, Nosferatu is a pretty easy win here. And then the other one that they give out every year, which I voted in as well, but it's not really a vote. You just kind of write in your favorite horror movie of the year, and The Substance. They didn't give us the percentages or whatever, but they said The Substance was far and away the winner here. Had you voted for your favorite horror movie in 2024, put you on the spot, what would you have written in there? For me, it would have been Nosferatu, which is what I wrote in, by the way.
Late Night with the Devil was my favorite horror movie of 2024.
Interesting. I bet you that got a lot of...
First Omen was a close second.
Okay. Hey, some good picks there. Brad, you're the man, dude. Thanks for getting together with me for literally an excuse to talk about horror. I mean, I love Janisse and Chelsea. I've been watching The Kill Count for like 3 or 4 years, and he put so much work into that every week, and then it just like blew up into this thing, and now he's basically got like a freaking organization under the Dead Meat umbrella.
They come out here to make appearances at the Horror Hound weekend.
Yeah, you told me that. What was that documentary that Shudder did? They had a couple different ones where it was like the 80s, something about the darkness.
Into the Darkness?
Well, Into the Darkness. So that was when the first one came out, was like 3 or 4 years ago. That was when I was introduced to James, because he was a talking head in that documentary.
Okay.
And he was talking about various, films that he had covered on The Kill Count that, he loved or whatever. And I just really liked his kind of commentary about the films, and I went and looked up his channel and subscribed, and that was like 4 years ago. So I've been hooked ever since. And I love that they do this, and great, but I love this Wikipedia knowledge that they drop on you when they do the nominees for sure. It's really, really cool. So guys, check out I'll put links down below in the description. If you're listening to the audio version, look down below as well, but it will link you to YouTube, because that's where the Dead Meat Awards are living now, on the Dead Meat channel. But go check it out, even if you like skip through to different categories and just kind of watch those little montages they do. They're really cool to kind of learn more about the production and stuff.
Like I said, I liked Carl Holtz when he did the digital effects, and he brought, like, he has a Benny puppet, brought Benny in, and just somebody dressed in a green suit standing behind him, like making him dance, and like,
yeah, dude, it's great.
It was just funny.
Just a little insight, nice little inside joke. Yeah, it's great. The production value is going up every year, but either way, I just love that they're shouting out horror and something in addition to the Fangoria, chainsaws, and something we can talk about and get you over here in the garage, because you won't come over unless we're talking about horror.
David Dastmalchian is the host of the Chainsaw Awards. So
Every year, or
he has been for the last 2. So I
Okay.
don't know.
not sure about
I'm
this year.
assuming he probably still would be this year. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know for sure. Before we go, though, I want to
Yes, yes.
know, sneak peek a little bit to next year. What are some horror that you've watched so far this year that you're kind of would see it towards the top of your list? Got to put you on the spot.
April was a good month for me, honestly, for 2025, because up until this month that we're recording, everything sucked. Like I didn't see anything hardly at all.
Okay.
I really like Drop, the new Christopher Landon like horror comedy.
Haven't seen that yet.
I thought that was awesome. I love Sinners. Sinners is my number one of the year, although I don't personally call it a horror movie. I mean, it's got genre elements because it's basically a vampire movie in the last third, but
Okay.
just as a film, that's my favorite movie I've seen so far.
I need to go see that. I've heard so many good things about it.
What else horror wise? And then I'm going to ask you. I wasn't as high on some that I know you guys have been pumping up. Like Hard Eyes was okay. There were some sequences in it that I really liked. Yeah, it was fun. I love The Monkey. You and I reviewed The Monkey. Actually,
I love The Monkey.
I actually think I like The Monkey more than Longlegs, which kind of freaked everybody out a little bit. I don't know. I just like that kind of like
completely different films. Like he went from like Longlegs has some silliness. Nick Cage has some silliness to it, but The Monkey just goes full comedy.
It does.
Horror comedy. And going in, I wasn't expecting it. I had no idea it was going to be so comedic. And
yeah, for sure.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The other one that came to mind from this year that I really like, which I guess would be horror. I mean, it's kind of thriller, comedy. I think there's some horror in there, though, is Companion. Did you see Companion with Sophie Thatcher?
I did.
I really like that one, too.
It is one that's on my list. The Monkey, Companion, Borderline with Samara Weaving.
Okay. It was okay.
I really liked it. Marshmallow, which just came out a couple weeks ago. It's
I don't know that one.
Camp slasher with a twist.
Need to check that one out.
I don't think it's on any streaming yet. It was in theaters a couple weeks ago. It should be hitting all those things soon.
Brad, I really appreciate you joining me and giving me a chance to talk about, I guess, the last official award show that I'll be talking about from the 2024 season, the Dead Meat Horror Awards. Yeah. And thanks again to everything James and Chelsea do over there at Dead Meat for the horror community for sure. Brad, why don't you tell them, because you also do a lot for the horror community. You got a great podcast that's dedicated to horror, and I know you often cover a lot of the lesser seen films.
Yes.
I'll put that kindly. That's why I can put that.
Say, a lot of my focus usually tends to be more towards the indie horror side of things.
Right.
I talk to a lot of the indie horror filmmakers, watch a lot of the indie horror films. I also dig the depths of Tubi to find those movies that maybe you might not be brave enough to watch, and I'll watch it to let you know if you should or should not.
Hell yeah, dude. Amityville Death Toilet or whatever. Yeah, the whole series.
Get ready for it.
Oh boy. Brad, you know I love you, man. You're one of my best friends, and it's always a pleasure when you come over here and talk movies with me too, especially when it's in the horror realm. But thanks for being here in the garage.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I'll be back sooner or later.
Chatting with you.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know we'll get together for the Fangoria Chainsaws, but we'll do something before that. I'll have to figure something out. But and I'm always here if you need me too. I appreciate it. And guys, thanks for tuning in. I will be back. I unfortunately probably won't be talking about horror for an hour, but I will be back soon. And I'll see you guys out there next time in the garage.